a warm welcome to Special Report. India declared 2010 to 2020 as the innovation decade, and as we enter 2015, we've already reached the halfway mark. Time now to introspect the innovation agenda of the country in terms of policy making, bringing about linkages, etching innovation ecosystems. Over the next 30 minutes, let's find out how far we've succeeded on the innovation roadmap. Meet this 15-year-old innovator from Tamil Nadu. Priyanka has innovated this GPS-enabled dustbin which compresses the overflowing garbage and sends a signal to the dump yard to finally empty the bin. This automated dustbin also has a solar light fitted to illuminate the area where the bin is positioned. Priyanka does not know whether her innovation has a future or will she be recognized or not.
I really want to see it opposite to my house where the normal dustbins are. I don't want to see those guys who come and collect the garbage every day coming in huge trucks, but instead a small truck. And this will seriously support Narendra Modi's Swachh Bharat Abhiyan because that speaks about cleaning India and other things. And my Super Stalker 3C fully focuses on cleaning India.
Another farmer from Rajasthan who's developed the seeds for cauliflowers weighing up to 15 kgs. He has even got a President's Award but still is struggling for a market where he can regularly sell his produce. This farmer has also filed for a patent, but that process has been time-taking and is still not done.
विश्व रिकॉर्ड बनाने का था, तो विश्व रिकॉर्ड बनाने के लिए फिर मैंने इसके वजन पर ज़्यादा ध्यान दिया और वजन पर ज़्यादा ध्यान दिया और ये बढ़ने लग गया, तो मैंने इसको आवश्यकता अनुसार हो गया 10-5 साल का अनुभव, तो उसमें करता रहा। लिम्का बुक 2001 में मेरा नाम दर्ज हो गया।
This young boy from Kerala has developed inbuilt speed locking systems for cars running on the highway which force the high-speed cars to slow down and run at a uniform speed. His innovation has no takers for now except for the hope he has from government-backed organizations like National Innovation Foundation.
Since accidents are increasing day by day, India is one of the countries with the most number of accidents per year. So our intention is to reduce accidents and to maintain a good driving culture in India.
The third International Conference on Creativity and Innovation at the grassroots level held in Ahmedabad has provided a platform for the young innovators to exhibit their innovations and recognize them for their skills. But throughout the country, there are lakhs of young innovators who go unnoticed just because there is no support at the policy level, coupled with a lack of resources. Can India really afford to lose out on such a vast repository of young talent, especially when an innovation decade has been separately marked out? Rajya Sabha TV finds out that the roadmap for innovation has been made, but years down the line, the pace of the forward movement has not matched up with the objectives of the agenda. There's hardly any serious policy perspective or thinking to create institutional avenues for vocational training or to infuse skills and labor in the informal sector. Are there really strategies to connect with the bottom of the economically pyramid? Well, that's where linkages between the formal and the informal institutional structures is required. National Innovation Foundation has managed to bring about lakhs of such innovators under one platform and unite them in their goals, be it rewards, filing patents, bringing linkages between the formal and the informal sector. But despite all these efforts, there is a sizable population of innovators who are untapped.
There were pressures on formal sector slowly and slowly, but they were probably not as successful in addressing those needs because they didn't want to go and learn from people. So even when effort was made by the formal sector to address the needs of the poor, this effort was made in their own drawing rooms, in their own labs, in their own workshops. If only they had cared to listen to the people and learn from the creative people among the people. Not everybody is equally creative.
Now, how does one assess the innovation quality of a country? Perhaps with its university performance, the reach of its scholarly articles and the international dimension of its patent applications. And by all these standards, India as of now qualifies only as an innovation learner. While there are numerous public-private channels for diffusing innovations produced in formal sector, similar channels for diffusion and value addition of informal innovations are not available. As a result of this, the economically poor but knowledge-rich people, despite their innovations many times, have been shortchanged.
हवा के दबाव से गाड़ी चलती है, इसमें कोई भी इंजन वगैरह नहीं है.
Either their innovations have been used as part of some scholarly papers or they've not been compensated. Such grassroots innovators have no future in India at the moment, and neither is the government recognizing them. It was to overcome this ethical and professional crisis that the Honeybee Network was born some 16 years ago. This network has built up people-to-people communication and has allowed reasonable benefit to be shared with the knowledge holders. At the moment, Honeybee Network is a crucible of like-minded individuals, innovators, farmers, scholars, academicians, policymakers, entrepreneurs and non-governmental organizations. A network having presence in more than 75 countries.
The concept of Honeybee Network. While I had been working on innovations by common people since 1980 and much more so in 83, 84, but in 86, 87, 88, the idea emerged that we exploit, the intellectuals exploit, people in knowledge market, moneylenders exploit in money market. So question was that if we extract knowledge of people and don't give them back anything, don't even recognize them, don't even make them known, we keep them anonymous, then this is an unfair exchange between formal and informal sector.
Even portals like Techpedia are trying to assimilate the technology projects by students to link the needs of industry and grassroots innovators with young minds and to promote collaborative research. Founders of portals say they are doing their bit, but at the policy level, there seems to be a major departure resulting in almost no support from the government.
Globally, we are known for IT outsourcing. The low-tech part of the innovation is always outsourced to Bangalore or Chennai or Delhi or somewhere else. But India can really become a high-tech outsourcing hub also. People can say tomorrow that send us a 3D printed kidney 20 years down the line from Bangalore. It can really happen. People in medical science, we have seen the biomedical innovation happening here. We have seen a huge amount of innovations happening across labs and all. So the mindset of the expectations from the youth need to go up.
According to multiple estimates, India trains around 1.5 million engineers, which is more than the US and China combined. Despite this humongous figure, the number of innovations recognized by the government is just a handful. The only two key industries hiring the engineers is information technology and manufacturing, and that's precisely where some semblance of innovation exists.
The US gets on the average 60,000 technology startups per year. China is around 6,000. We are not even 600. That is the scale at which we are. So we need more technology startups. So what are we doing? We are making efforts on that. You know, I chair Vyas Bioscience, which is a startup company that has come up based on Indian science. I chair Invictus, which is in supramolecular therapeutics, new cancer therapy. So you require, you know, multitude of these things, you know, to move forward.
According to data from AICTE, the regulator for technical education in India, there were 1,511 engineering colleges across India, graduating over 550,000 students in 2006-07. Fueled by fast growth, especially in $110 billion outsourcing market, a raft of new colleges sprung up. Since then, the number of colleges and graduates have doubled. Jobs, however, have failed to keep pace. But are these number of students encouraged for innovation? That's a key question.
We have 200,000 engineering projects done by students with the name of their guides, college, institution and abstract, most of the cases. What is the idea? Of course, one idea was to promote originality, but second was to create an ecosystem where some of these students will engage with the communities and grassroots innovation. I will not say we have achieved that, but we are moving in that direction.
We don't have interlinkages or interconnections to talk about in the Indian industry scenario. I mean, now there is a growing feeling that, you know, for India to grow, you need to have a strong manufacturing sector, be it make in India or much earlier than that. But in the end of the day, if you provide infrastructure, you still need the firms to innovate.
90% of the innovation in our country is informal, where students and innovators bootstrap with a local ecosystem and continue with their innovations. Many times their innovations are celebrated, they are rewarded. But what happens after these celebrations is a scenario again of a long struggle for these innovators. Experts say that India lacks an innovation ecosystem which has only been built to feed the IT sector. Absence of ecosystem does not recognize innovation in other sectors. For example, meet this innovator from Dang in Gujarat, where he has innovated this musical instrument which he uses to entertain his entire village. This instrument is designed by using bull horns and also uses vegetables like gourd and pumpkin after drying. But there are no takers for this kind of a cultural innovation.
जो पेंटिंग की है वो दिखाया नाग पंचम का, और दूसरा तो ये दिखाया। इनके से ये पुरानी आदत है, तो हमने ऐसा सोचा कि चलो इनके साथ साथ वो भी ले जाऊं और वो भी दिखाऊं, तो ये लोग देखेगा तो और कुछ आगे बढ़ेंगे। अगर नहीं दिखाऊं नहीं वैसा न वैसा पड़ रहेगा तो इसका कौन गाएगा, कौन देखेगा, कौन उसका ये करेगा, इसीलिए हम ये यहाँ लेकर आए।
Time for a short break. On the other side, we'll get you more aspects on the innovation agenda. Back in a moment. Another reason for a complete lack of innovation ecosystem which is not much discussed in India is nonchalance towards new research. International innovation experts say whatever research is happening in India has no direction to it, and neither does it result in any kind of innovation or solutions. India scores better than China, Brazil and Russia on quality of scientific research institutions, but the research undertaken in such institutions is not percolating down for commercial usage.
Innovation impulse of India actually, I think, could lead the world in identifying new themes that are not being addressed by other countries. So, for example, how to deal with land and water, how to deal with the oceans around us, how to deal with an enormous number of things which are topics that don't get a lot of attention in the West, don't get a lot of attention in Europe, but actually are places where India is uniquely situated to ask questions that are relevant to the rest of the world.
Invention and creativity that you find in everyday people, you know, in the farm and you know, the workers who may not have a high-level university degree. There's so much innovation happening, and we learn a lot. We from, you know, a lot of academic institutions learn a lot just by observing and interacting with a lot of people.
Experts say that India is still struggling with the right funding ecosystems for the startups, along with government policies that remove barriers for such companies to develop its Silicon Valley equivalent. But the big question is, how will India develop a startup culture like that of the US in the absence of venture capitalists who understand the strategic and the portfolio investments, as these are important corners of the innovation agenda. Sharad Parikh is a student of Ahmedabad Polytechnic. He's yet to clear his third-year exam, but his innovation of a technology for solar energy collector has increased the efficiency from 20% to 60%. His innovation has no takers in India, but his paper was presented and recognized by MIT USA, for which he even received an International Climate Change Award. Biggest irony is, Sharad's own country has refused to recognize his innovation. Sharad is an entrepreneur and with his own efforts is running a business now.
Basically, we didn't get any support from the government. We started on our own, and initially we were importing the things. So we earned out of that, and we invested into a manufacturing plant. The biggest, the obstacle I was facing is my age, because I was just 18 years old. And when you are talking that we are doing this kind of business and I am the CEO of the company, people were not ready to believe into that how this 18 years old guy can do something like this. So that was the initial situation for us.
Policymakers say that too much focus is given to the front benchers passing out from premier institutions, and research and innovation done by students from lower rung institutions finds no place despite the phenomenal work done by them.
People who call Jugaad as innovation are the biggest thing that they do mistakes. I mean, the innovators who are doing in villages, they have spent 10 years. Nobody spent 10 years in Jugaad. It's a misleading term that many a time even our politicians start speaking. There are people who are doing hardcore scientific jobs in this thing. So I think we have the capacity to do. The millions of students starting, we just need to connect them with real challenges and create incentives.
Paresh Panchal's story is no different. He's a Class A dropout but has mastered the technology of development in which he has innovated machines for making incense sticks. He has lent a helping hand to 600 women of the tribal areas where they were making these sticks with bare hands. Paresh's machines have not only doubled the income of the poor women but also have brought a quality difference to their lives.
लोग हाथ जोड़ के जो प्रेम से हमें बताया कि भैया हम जो 50 रुपये भी नहीं कमाते थे, आज आपकी वजह से हमें 250 रुपया मिल रहा है और उससे हम बहुत खुश हैं। और आज वो हालत है कि पहले तो हमने स्टिक का ही मशीन बनाया था, आज हमारे पास उनके लिए अगरबत्ती पूरी बनाने का भी मशीन हमने फिर से डेवलप कर दिया।
National Innovation Foundation is bringing together a wide gamut of such innovators and lending a fruitful platform to them. Not only this, networks like Shrishti and Honeybee are going from one place to another across various regions of the country on Shodhyatras where they spread awareness about innovation, collect data of the grassroots innovators and ultimately bring them together on a common platform.
We have more than 200,000 leads from 550 districts of our country. Now naturally with a small team and a budget almost frozen at the level of 2,000, which is just about $400,000 to $500,000, it would not have been possible for us to go to every place. But we do walk in different parts of the country. We have Shodhyatras.
We started this National Innovation Award that we are giving. Dr. Mashilkar gave this award, former DG of CSIR, since 2012. We have been giving these 3 editions of award at IIM Ahmedabad, coordinated by Srishti. This time it will be on 8th March at Rashtrapati Bhavan. This award has really created an impact on the ground. A lot of application. We have got application from 248 universities, including IITs and all. We have got brilliant innovation. But yes, the traction has come from the academics by now.
Few clusters in and around Ahmedabad are thriving and offering excellent innovation opportunities. Biggest example leading the way is Naroda. Treatment of effluents all these years has been a major challenge in this area, and innovation of a common treatment plant has changed the lives of the industries here. All the industrial units are connected through pipelines with a standard treatment plant, which cleans the water and sends it back to the individual units.
There is no coordination between the clusters, and what we need is the dissemination. That is very poor at our. We do a lot of things as a singular, but we don't know what other clusters are doing. For that, I think government should make some committee where these cluster projects or their success stories should be taken so that other can replicate the same.
There are 1,000 industrial clusters across the country in various sectors, and there's already a huge existing infrastructure in terms of universities, labs, human resources, industrial facilities, testing centers and tool rooms. And if the student innovators are given a chance to use these facilities to develop their prototype, the innovation activity already gets scaled up. But the irony is that all this infrastructure remains utilized, and neither is there a proper framework for the students to use these facilities. Big companies like Have More have even innovated to the extent of producing biogas, which has reduced their electricity bills by many folds.
The ice creams we make are world class. Only the Indians need to market well. We don't easily go abroad and all where these people come. So the ice cream, we are competing so well in weddings, everywhere our ice creams are accepted. Especially the local ice cream we make, like rose petal or kulfi or pine nut saffron, which nobody can make.
In India, there are very few companies which are actually innovating. Most of them discredit the way the government policies are made and how they do not cater to the masses but only a few corporates. India's Science, Technology and Innovation Policy 2013 was unveiled by the Manmohan Singh government, where the theme Science for Reshaping the Future of India is now the context for the new science policy.
जिस ढंग से इनोवेशन के बारे में विचार करते हुए प्रारंभ से ही शिक्षा के अंतर्गत इसको करिकुलम के रूप में रखना चाहिए था, ये नहीं आ पाया और जिसका परिणाम हुआ कि उस संबंध में अधिकाधिक लोग सोच सकें, कार्य कर सकें, वो संभव नहीं हो पाया।
Scientific policy making in India has evolved over a period of time. The earlier policy, which was announced more than a decade back, was called the Science and Technology Policy. The word innovation was added to the latest policy formulation. For India, the paradigm of innovation is about presenting improved S&T-based solutions to drive social and economic development. Some years ago, India had declared the decade 2010 to 2020 as a decade of innovation. STI 2013 could also be viewed as an added manifestation of this strategy. The key focus of the new policy was to encourage the research and development output.
MSME के माध्यम से हमने एक्सक्लूसिव इनोवेशन फंड की योजना शुरू की है और इसमें 200 करोड़ का फंड हमने उसमें रखा है। भविष्य में और भी इनोवेशन टेक्नोलॉजीज अधिक से अधिक विकसित हो सके, इस दिशा में भी हम कार्य करने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं।
Science, Technology and Innovation Policy gives equal weightage to the world-class R&D infrastructure, increasing private participation in R&D and positioning India amongst the top 5 countries of the world. But experts say that there is a strong disconnect between the innovators, policy makers and the executors. Until the time this connect does not become cohesive, India's innovation story will remain a far cry. The government feels that developing solutions to social problems is a new grammar of modern science, but the process is in a very nascent stage. Policymakers point out that the bureaucrats making the roadmap for innovation hardly go out in the field to find out the real picture of innovation in the country.
इनोवेटिव आइडियाज़ को हम अधिक से अधिक लोगों के बीच में प्रसारित कर सकें, इस दृष्टि से इस नीति आयोग का बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण योगदान होगा। तो हमारी सरकार उस दिशा में सोच रही है और आगे चल कर के इसको कैसा स्वरूप प्रदान करेगी, मैं समझता हूँ इस पर हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी इस संबंध में काफ़ी वैचारिक दृष्टि से आगे बढ़े हैं।
Innovation is directly linked to the intellectual property rights as well, and in India we are still in the process of formulating a policy. Department of Industrial Policy and Planning has put up the draft of the IPR policy to invite suggestions, but the fact of the matter is that India still is not an IPR-driven country. Number of innovators are not aware of the procedure for patenting. The new draft of the Intellectual Property Policy on the website of the Department of Industrial Policy and Planning is supposed to address issues related to IPR, addressing India's concerns and also ensuring its compliance under the international treaties. But experts say that most of the Indians don't know how to take advantage of the IPR system, given the fact that 75% of the patent filing is done by foreign entities. But this particular policy document does not spell out the reasons as to why this phenomena really exists. Innovation decade in India has been marked out from 2010 to 2020, but on the Global Innovation Index, India has slipped to the 76th position out of 143 economies. India is also the worst performer amongst the BRIC nations, but experts in India don't see this as a setback for the innovation, as European or American nations don't factor in the vast informal sector of innovations which India has. India's ranking on the Global Innovation Index has fallen to 76 from 66 in 2013. This ranking is based on a set of variables to both innovation input and output. A number of government initiatives are underway which address country-specific challenges and the gap areas. But the big question is, does India really need to worry as far as the Global Innovation Index is concerned?
You will be glad to know that NIF has probably any one organization may not have as many patents as we have filed, more than 680 patents in the name of common people. all right belong to them, but Government of India helps us through Department of Science and Technology to pay the cost for that. We have licensed more than 80 technologies to entrepreneurs, many of them non-exclusive.
Another indication of innovation capacity is the research and development spending of a nation. India accounts about 3% of $1.6 trillion of global gross expenditure on research and development, that is GERD, in PPP, that is purchasing power parity, which is around 5 times lower than that of its neighbor China, according to the Economic Survey. Policy paralysis in the last few years was not only seen in the social and the economic sectors, but also manifested itself across various segments of the S&T institutions, from poor governance to according low priority to science and technology in the overall budget. 2% of the GDP has been committed since 2007, but the Indian GERD, that is gross expenditure on research and development, has got stagnated at 0.9%. Economic Survey even says that despite being ranked ahead of other peers when it comes to market knowledge, technology and creativity, India ranks poorly in other metrics such as institutional support, human resources, research infrastructure and business sophistication. Further, it adds that the much talked about industry-university collaboration is not yielding any significant output, unlike developed economies like the US that saw growth fostered by this sort of partnership. Despite the industry contribution towards R&D increasing over the last few years, it still contributes to less than 30% of the overall R&D spends, according to the Economic Survey. If India has to become the engine of innovation and the driver of growth, it mandatorily has to bring about a linkage between its formal and informal sectors, supported by a strong legislative, policy and an institutional framework. Remember the 3 IT mantras of a visionary, that is information and technology plus Indian talent is equal to India tomorrow. That's all we could pack up in this half hour from our entire team. Goodbye and thanks for watching.